Entara Tasdar, ladies and gentlemen, my name is Kaelaris, and today I'm going to be showing you a bit of a tactic, and for this demonstration I'm going to be using one of my ladder games between myself and Wigan, who I actually asked him if he was from the UK, considering there's a place in the UK called Wigan, but then he said he was from, I was going to say inside Korea, Core, so I assumed that was Korea, but I was like, I didn't really know if he meant Korea or anything like that, so maybe he's pulling my leg, I don't know. Anyway, the point is, this is going to be kind of a quick tutorial on, it's sort of a 4-gate variation actually, and the way I picked this up, I knew about it before, but I didn't know that it had as much success as it actually does. So as you can see, I'm throwing down that pylon at a very standard time, a 9 pylon. I'm going to be sending that probe out to do a bit of scouting. But there's a dude in my ladder, and I don't think this is very skilled personally, who's like 2.2k rated. He's first on my ladder, this is the only tactic he uses at all for the entirety of ladder, which is pretty annoying actually. I don't think that's very skilled, getting up to 2.2k or whatever. But you know, whatever works, I suppose. A win is a win. So anyway, as you can see, I'm throwing down that gateway at a 12. You can throw it down at 12 or 13, depending on how fast you actually want your cybernetics core out. But so as you can see, we're 2 minutes into the game, just throwing down that gateway. I'm not going to be looking at my opponent too much. This build can be countered very kind of easily if somebody is going for a very fast Robo Bay with a very heavy Immortal play, but nowadays Protoss doesn't do too much of that. This also works very well against Terran, not as well against Zerg, because the Stalkers can be ripped apart by Zerglings quite easily depending on your micro, etc. But you can just warp in Zealots to compensate if you do use this against Zerg. So as you can see, that first gate has gone up. I'm throwing that simulator down. I threw it down at around 14, 15, I'm pretty sure. And I'm getting that second pylon to make sure I don't get myself too silo-locked. So as you can see now, I'm just saving up that money for that cybernetics core. Going to be getting that out quickly. I'm pretty sure I do go for a zealot at this point, since you can always get that zealot out whilst that cybernetics core is being created. So yeah, if I haven't mentioned what this is, actually I'm going to put it in the title anyway, but it's pretty much 4-gate with blink stalkers, and it's really strong. I've done it quite a few times, getting my I wanted to kill his probe as quickly as I could, because I didn't want it scouting around in my base whilst I was grabbing my Twilight Council eventually, because if I did have a Twilight Council out at this time, he'd know to a certain degree what I was doing, so it's really important to kill off that probe. So as you can see, I do have my cybernetics core up. That's a bit of an early pylon there, but it doesn't matter too much, considering that my opponent isn't applying any pressure. I have been scouting this gate with my probe here, and now just see that he has started his first stalker. So as you can see, I'm just chrono boosting out my gateways, warp gate technology, and going to be grabbing myself some, I need to go on busy, sorry Fade, chrono boosting out a few stalkers as well. I did see that his stalker was in creation, so I wanted to get my stalker out pretty quickly. And as you can see here, around about 26 supply. You can do it a little bit earlier actually, but you want to get your Twilight Council pretty quickly as well, while still continuing producing stalkers from this gateway. If you're a bit scared of your opponent doing some kind of really early rush, then you probably will need to get a sentry out in order to build a force field effectively. But that doesn't matter too much. That sentry can still come in use later on in the game, as Guardian Shield will be really effective when you do actually make your initial push. So as you can see here, still just chrono boosting out a few stalkers. Really you need to keep production up on these stalkers fully in order to be able to counter anything like really fast that your opponent does do. And once you do have the money for blink, you're going to be wanting to research that as quickly as possible. So once you've actually got your Twilight Council up and that blink on its way, you're going to be wanting to throw down another 3 warp gates. Preferably just you want your warp gates to finish just as this research is finishing. But again, it's a bit of hard timings to do. I'm still slightly rusty with this build, but as I say, after this Twilight Council has gone up and you have started researching blink, you really want to start throwing down those 3 warp gates. I did put a forge down there by mistake and then cancelled it and got my 3rd warp gate going up. So as you can see in the base here, he is actually going for that Robo facility, and even if your opponent is going 2-gate Robo, this tactic is still extremely strong. So don't be deterred by the fact that he does have access to Immortals, because honestly, if you can control your blink micro enough during this kind of push, then you're going to be in a firm position of command when you actually do reach his base. So as you can see here, just these warp gates are warping in, and I have sent this probe up to throw a proxy pylon down in a forward position. His observer's just coming out of the base now, having a look around, and he is grabbing that. He's grabbing another observer. Interesting. I'm surprised that he was grabbing 2 observers, especially since he didn't scout my base up until just now. As you can see, if we go to the vision tab, he pretty much can't see anything going on in my base right now. So now, as you can see, I'm moving out with these 6 stalkers across the map. He does see this proxy pylon with this observer, but it's pretty much too late at this point, honestly. Oh, I'm quite surprised he's throwing down a robotics bay. But honestly, this does work against a lot of people. My opponent here didn't use too many the right tactic or the right counter for this, but this is still a really strong counter. This is still a really strong tactic regardless of what your opponent does. As you can see, he's chrono boosting out an immortal here now, but I'm just going to be coming up the ramp quite easily. Can blink up if you want. I did blink that one back just before the actual health of my stalker was deleted, and I did lose that stalker. I should have blinked that back, although that being said, blink was on cooldown. And as you can see here, I can just blink up into his base and do what the hell I want at this point. My opponent should have probably scouted better, but even if your opponent does scout better and knows what's coming, it's still extremely hard to deal with this as a Protoss or a Terran player. So, just to recap, you're going to be wanting to get your Pylon, Gateway and Cybernetics Core at relatively this standard time, but once that happens, you just wanting to grab a few Stalkers. Depending on what your opponent's doing, you may need a Sentry or a Zealot. And then you want to grab your Twilight Council around the 24 to 26 mark. Once your Twilight Council's finished, you're going to need you're going to need Blink researching, and don't forget these 2 assimilators. The second one comes at a pretty standard time. And then once the Blink is being researched, you want to throw down these 3 gateways, get yourself your proxy pylon, and then just push in with Blink, and use your Blink macro, or micro effectively, in order to be able to save weak Stalkers at the front, or just blink up the top of his ramp. So thank you very much for watching this, guys. I hope you enjoyed this educational video, and I shall be bringing you more in the future. So if you haven't already, please subscribe, and if you really like what you see, please donate so I can get myself a US account so I can play with you guys over there. And also thank you very much to Pirate, the Pirate, that's your YouTube name, for donating. I really appreciate that. My 3rd official donator, so I'm super happy at this point. Thank you very much, and I'll see you guys next time.